Hello and welcome to the Farmer's Kitchen. We're the farmers.
That's right.
This is our kitchen. We had pizza.
It was a good
Homemade pizza.
We all made our own. We all made our own pizza.
And there's a reason for that, because we've been running around like chickens with our heads cut off, and we have spring up on us. It's right around the corner. It's garden season. So everybody in my life, I watched my dad plant, I watched his dad raise tomatoes. I saw people in the country where I grew up raising different gardens, and I learned from everybody. Everybody has their own way. We were over at Versailles the other day at the castle. In the back, they had a greenhouse.
Nice.
We had to see it. So here's Tony, and she's going to show us how she starts things from a seed and works her way up to a beautiful, beautiful plant that produces food for the restaurant. We are at the castle with Tony. Good to see you this morning.
Nice to see you.
It's awful green in here.
The best place to be. Yeah.
Now, we're going to talk about gardening. It's that time of year. The most important thing is to get your plants up and going and then get them out in the garden. We can learn something from everybody, correct? The old timers.
That's how I've learned everything I know. Yeah.
So how did you get started in this?
Well, I've been an agriculture teacher for about 22 years now, but before that, I actually worked on horse farms. I managed a horse farm for 14 years.
Cool.
So when I started teaching, I was definitely an animal science kind of girl. And when we moved from the eastern part of the state to Mercer County, the job opening there, in my interview, he said, well, can you run our greenhouse?
Sure.
Sure was my answer. I said, well, I never have, but I'm sure I can figure it out. And from there, I just fell in love with horticulture. So, and it was a really good way to engage students, for one thing. So lots of hands-on learning, but I got to be a student as well. So my first year in 2007, I was grasping at straws, never took a horticulture class. I mean, didn't pay attention if I did. And so I had to get those old timers, and they came in, and one in particular came in and just held my hand that whole first season and showed me everything. And from there, you learn to make mistakes and change. And so now it is 15 years later, and I couldn't imagine not being in a greenhouse. I want to, as far as giving tips for people at home, I think you just have to start with quality products. So the media you use, don't go out in your yard and dig up some dirt in the back of your yard. So go out, they make germination mixes. And so we buy, it's just a little bit finer than what you see as we transplant in. And it's the same ratio. It's got the sphagnum peat moss, it's got the perlite and the vermiculite, the same as that, but it's just ground up finer. And it's sterile. So you're not bringing you're not introducing any pathogens. So it's giving your seeds the best chance. And also start with a quality seed. How we start seeds, so you'll see I'm picking things out. There is bigger debris in there sometimes. Sometimes the peat moss gets in clumps. Again, I'm kind of a stickler for detail, so I spend a few seconds and just kind of make sure, because these seeds, some of them are microscopic. I mean, when we started begonias and peppermint, you can hardly see them in your hand. So, but we're gonna do kale today. So I love kale, I love all kinds of varieties of kale. I love the restaurant loves kale. So what we do is we just make rows. You don't have to. I get asked all kinds of questions from my high school students. They'll say, well, why do we do that? I'm like, because I was taught that way. That's, right? That's how I was taught. But you could broadcast them on here. So we just make little rows. The rule of thumb is you want to plant them as deep as 3 times the size of the seed. So if it's a teeny tiny seed, you're barely putting them in. I think that's a common mistake. People want to plant seeds like you're doing it in the garden and put inches down, and that's a mistake. You want to really put them on the surface and just lightly cover them if they're little. So we'll make about 10 rows in a tray, and we'll just take and you just dribble them in there. They make tools that you can use. Handling them isn't probably best practices. You want to keep the sterility as much as possible. You're working with sterile soil, and your seeds are sterile, and now I'm gomming them up with my hands. These bigger seeds, it gives you some control.
Now, if you notice the noise, that's just the fan in the greenhouse, which there's a lot of fans in here.
There's a lot. Ventilation is a key in the greenhouse. So we just go through there. I try to do maybe 15 to 20 seeds in a row this size, because you want to optimize your time for one thing, but also the expenses of what you're doing, the trays and the soil. And you're not going to get 100% germination anyway, so then after we do that, we just cover them. I'm just going to show you the way I do it. I just take it and cover it where I can control it more.
time-wise on that, how long is it going to take it to
They're
start
all-
seeing something?
Yeah, they're all different. So again, rule of thumb, the smaller the seed, the longer it takes to germinate, the bigger the seed, the faster it goes. You put a squash seed in, right? And in 3 days it's germinated and you feel very, successful. These will probably take 7 to 10 days. Some plants take up to 3 weeks. So that's why when we make these tags and put them in everything, the date is one thing we put on there because I need to know if we had a crop failure. I need to know if I'm going to give up on the plant. So if it's only been in there 10 days and on it, it has a 21 day, I'm like, we're okay.
Yeah.
But if it's squash, it probably was a bad, and I'm going to throw it
Bad
out.
batch.
Yeah. The greenhouse is magic. The greenhouse lets a lot of sun in, the humidity is just right, but you can do things at home. You can use saran wrap and just wrap your tray and you just want to keep it humid. So that you just want to mimic what the greenhouse is doing. Obviously it needs a little warmth, it needs some sun after they germinate. So as long as you're giving the plant what it needs, you can do it at home. You just have to be, the management's just a little higher. So again, I haven't watered this since we put it in, and I think I looked at it this morning. I think this is broccoli. And I think we actually have some coming up. Yeah.
And how long has that been in there?
The 14th. So just
Oh,
3.
wow.
Yeah. So this makes me happy. This means we're going to eat well. This spring we'll have lots of broccoli.
Now you initially, I'm sure, watered this fairly good and then put the top over it?
Yep, and haven't watered it since.
Wow.
So it just keeps, and you can see when you see that condensation, you're doing
working.
good. You're working. People at home have a tray, always have holes in the bottom of it, and then you can bottom water them. So like you don't want to take your hose and just, they're
Right.
little fragile things. So I have a tray over here. We just literally float them in the water, and the water will go up from the bottom, and it doesn't damage the plant at all, but it gets it to the roots. So it really is one of the better ways to water plants.
What are some of the common mistakes that people run into? I remember as a kid getting so excited and putting out these little trays, and I remember some plants going straight up, and they all got real wispy and thin, and they just kind of laid over.
How I explain to the kids is they're looking for light.
Yes.
So if you're restricting light, they're going to grow as tall as they can. They're on survival mode, so they're going to grow towards light. We'll even get trays out of the propagation chamber, and they're all growing to the side, meaning we didn't, we got to turn it or get it out. But yeah, a leggy plant is really tough to do, and if we do get them, when we transplant, we have to fix it. We have to bury that stem, which just makes our job a lot harder. This tray is actually a tray of, I'll just brag on my students for a minute, but this is a tray of zinnia seeds that we actually saved from last year's zinnias in the garden. So we, when the season was over, we just cut their heads off. We put them in a big Tupperware thing. We kept the moisture down. We didn't want them to rot, of course, and get moldy. So we kept some ventilation in it. But when they were completely dry, we just stored them up in the refrigerator, up in the barn, pulled them out, and I said, kids, let's just do an experiment. Let's see if any of them even germinated. So we just literally broadcasted it. You can see how heavy the tray is. We just broadcasted the seeds, and they just came up like gangbusters. The rule that we have here in the greenhouse is if it has the transplant, if your seedling has true leaves on it, then it's big enough to transplant. So the true leaves are the leaves that come out. Let me get this little filler out. The true leaves are the ones that come out in the middle. All plants have these ones on the side. They're called cotyledons. I give the analogy, it's like your baby teeth, they're gonna fall out, but this is the true leaf of the plant. And you'll be able to see, it'll be like kale will look like kale in the middle. Marigolds look like marigolds. So you'll be able to see the difference. But once those true leaves are up, you're gonna have enough root development that it's gonna transplant well. So this is an example of a lot of stem, right? So the students will try not to get that one. They'll try to get the shorter one. But we just take a tray, and it's a 1203, meaning there's 12 3-packs in here. And so we'll give each transplant, we'll get it out of here where it's really competing with all of its other brothers and sisters at this point. So we're gonna get it out and give them as individual trays so it can grow. So we just plant the entire plant in there, that whole stem, get it right in the middle. I tell them I have a little bit of an OCD, so they have to get it right smack in the middle. They have to look nice on the table. And we just go through, and that's how you transplant them. We transplant the entire stem, no matter how big. So if you have, like we were doing eggplant one time, and the stem probably was 4 inches, we had to put it in a bigger pot. You just have to, set yourself up for success.
Whole stem in.
Put the whole stem. And the stem will grow roots. There's root hairs on it, so you'll get a stronger plant in the long run. Yeah.
Microgreens.
Love them.
What are they?
Microgreens are really the entire plant. We eat them at about 5 days old. We eat them from the germination instead of let them go to the whole plant. So this is a tray of, it's called a mild mix, and it's got some arugula and kale, some spicy mustard in it, and they sell it, and we grow it on these little bamboo mats, and the restaurant uses a lot of microgreens. We would see them come in all the time, and I'm like, I want to try to grow those.
So you just dampen that? Put the seeds out?
Yes. So there's only a few tricks to it, but yes, you dampen the bamboo mat. We did some peas over here, and we did them on soil. So again, the media, you can use soil, or you can use some like a recycled material that they sell online. They have some hemp mats that they use. But the key of it is just get them contact with whatever media you put. So we literally put weight on them when we first seed them. Like those are pretty new, and we put weight on them and darken them out for about 3 or 4 days. Let them germinate, and once they germinate, once they start, like these peas have started, I just took it off this morning. Then now they need light, so we take it off, give them a little light, and in about 7 days, you've got 3-inch microgreens. The nutritional benefits are that plant has every benefit of the whole kale. So that little bitty thing, when you put it in your salad, it's just nutrient dense.
All right, I think you're having way too much fun. We got to cut this out. We cannot be having this much fun.
Yeah, I get paid to do this. It's great.
You know what? I want to thank you so much. We could go on for hours here. I really, and then have good information. Maybe we need to come back when you're doing something different.
Okay.
Tony's Tips in the Garden. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Spring. What do you think about when you think about spring?
I think about baby lambs.
Lambing season is up on us. We timed it out. We know how long it takes when the ram gets introduced to the young ladies, and they go out to dinner a couple times, have a few drinks, and next thing you know, you got lambs running around.
That's right.
everywhere.
I remember
It's a long start.
I know the exact date too.
5 months, right?
Exactly, yes.
So we plan for our lambs to come in here around April. Why would you not want lambs in January?
I don't know. Why do you think? Maybe cold?
Because we don't want
Popsicles.
I don't mean to be mean, but yeah, lambsicles. We don't want that. So anyhow, we have baby lambs coming along very shortly. Here's what that looks like around spring. Now in the farmer's kitchen, when you see us out and about, almost everything we do, even some things that look fairly recreational, we're thinking about food for the freezer, food for future meals, so on and so forth. When we go fishing, not too long ago, went to Florida, I shot a bunch of fish with a bow. When we go to get some bluegill, and we go to get legal fish and check your limits, it's the best money you'll ever spend.
That's right.
Fresh fish in the freezer, clean them yourself, pull them out when you need them, freeze them. Hunting in the spring. Now in the fall, obviously we get us a big deer.
Right.
We get a couple deer, 60 pounds, 50 pounds per deer
Yes.
in the freezer. Turkey hunting in the spring. We're gonna do a recipe in the next couple of weeks. While you're turkey hunting, what do you see when you're out and about looking on the ground?
Mushrooms.
Mushrooms. It's that time of year right now, folks. That's why we're doing this little segment, to think about mushrooms. These are some that we collected in the fall of last year. We dehydrated them and put them in plastic bags, put them in a dark, cool area. 6 months later, the chicken of the woods were so fragrant, they almost had a fennel, they had a sweet smell.
They did.
The puffball, which we experimented with, they have a really strong smell, not so pleasant, but once you rehydrate them, they have a better taste and smell. Morels. Let's look at a morel. Those are coming up right now. Morels have a very particular look. They look like a little kind of a pine tree shape. If you cut through that, it's going to be hollow in the stem and hollow in the top. A false morel, which I found out here last year, the top is kind of uneven and wrinkled, kind of ugly. The stem is very cottony and fibrous. It is not hollow in the least. Ultimately though, as you're searching and looking for mushrooms, educate yourself. When it comes down to it and you finally try that mushroom, know everything about it before you put it in your mouth. There's no danger if you're educated in what you do. We don't have any problem at all putting these things in our mouth and eating them. But that's up to you. Educate yourself. Plenty of stuff out there that you can really enjoy when you're foraging through the woods. What else happens in the spring when you're looking on the ground outside?
The dandelions.
What did you do with the dandelions, Mrs. Farmer, and the red buds,
That's
and the
right.
violets, and forsythia bushes? What did you do?
The best jelly in the world.
It is the
Wonderful
best
jelly.
Now, when you make jelly, It's loaded with this very sweet thing called sugar.
Sugar's good.
So it's not the healthiest thing in the world. Dandelions themselves are very healthy. This recipe, not so healthy, but delicious.
Delish.
Tell them what you made again.
Dandelion jelly.
Yum.
Yummy.
So this is a cup. Most people do a quart, but we're about out of jars. So go ahead and tell us the ingredients, Mrs.
All
Farmer,
right.
as you snip away the green.
What we're gonna do is they just want the yellow. Now, try not to get, I might get a little green in there, but I want to try to get a cup of these. And this is gonna make us 4 of those little jars of jelly, exactly. So we're gonna take these, and once I get these all cut, 1 cup, we're gonna put them in 2 cups of water, get that to boil for 2.5 minutes, and then we're gonna add some more ingredients.
Makes it really good.
This is simple. This whole process maybe takes 10 minutes, if that. It's
I remember
real
as a
quick.
kid eating this and thinking, man, that tastes kind of like honey. And it really
Really?
does. It has just an interesting taste to it.
It does taste like honey.
All right, Mrs. Farmer. So I've got you some boiling water here. I
Right.
got 1 cup of mostly yellow flower parts.
You definitely need a good pair of scissors. You saw how long that took me, but it was worth it. And Tracy got us these. These are wonderful.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah. And I got 2 cups of water here, and I have 1 cup of the dandelions.
And so we're going to boil that
That's right.
for how long? 3 minutes?
Yeah, once it boils, we're going to let it boil for 3 minutes.
Okay, so out of the 2 cups of water, what you pour off and what we use is the 3/4 of
Right.
a cup.
We just want 3/4 cup of that.
Right. And then at that point, we come back with some sugar, some lemon, some pectin,
That's right.
and some drops of vanilla if you want that in
Right.
there.
And we're going to boil it again, and we'll have us some jelly.
That's what I'm talking about. So we're going to strain these.
Right. And this is gone for 3 minutes of boiling.
All right.
And we're going to strain it. We're going to kind of squeeze it too. All we need is 3/4 of a cup of this. See how it colored the water there for us?
That's where we get our golden color.
That's right.
All right, Mrs. Farmer, next step.
Ready? All right, we got a lot of juice here, but all we need now is
3/4 cup.
3/4 of a cup. So I'm gonna measure us 3/4 of a cup. Look at that pretty color. Pour that in the pot for us. And now I'm gonna take the pectin. We're gonna take 3 teaspoons of this. That, so 1, 2, 3.
Now you got a short window for dandelions, you know,
That's right.
before they blow away in the wind.
I'm thinking just a couple drops.
A couple drops vanilla.
Yeah, a couple drops
Boom,
of
boom.
vanilla. Perfect. And we want about a tablespoon of lemon juice. I'm just gonna squeeze a little bit in here.
A lot of people have had this as a kid. It's right outside your door. It's easy to get. It's fun. The kids, grandkids would love this.
Oh yeah.
They're in Michigan now, but wish they were down here.
Well, we're ready.
Boil.
Let's get that to a boil. All right, now we brought the stuff to a boil.
Okay.
And now we are gonna go ahead and add our 1.5 cups of sugar.
All right.
And this has to go for 3 minutes. And then we've got us some jelly.
And every time one of those little bubbles comes up, a calorie bounces out.
Really? Okay,
So by
perfect.
the time you get done with this, all those bubbles,
Oh.
it'll be like backwards in calories, like minus 2,500 calories per
So I
bite.
can eat it with a spoon like I was earlier?
Exactly. You want this not to bubble up too much, but about like that. That's
Yeah, it's
all the bubbles
perfect.
you want. Then back off just a little bit. And we are done.
We're there.
Just 3 minutes.
And this will make exactly 4 of these little jars so we can share with our friends.
Now stuff like this, if you had a little care package, maybe you had some sausage that you made
Oh yeah.
around Christmas time,
Wouldn't it be cute in
some
that?
dandelion jelly. This, I hate to say it, but this is not going to last till Christmas.
No, it's not.
Our dandelion jelly lasts about a jar a day.
Mm-hmm.
These are going to go directly into the refrigerator. We're not going to have any shelf life on here
No, we won't.
because we're going to eat them. And boom, they're going to seal, and we got something special.
Ta-da!
Out here in our yard, if you looked really close, it looks good when it's mowed.
Yeah, it does.
Looks like any other yard. But there's clover, and there's broadleaf, and there's all kinds of things that most people want to get out of
Right.
there. We like it. Broadleaf is a wonderful medicinal plant. It's also edible as well for stomach aches. If you get a bee sting,
Oh yeah.
plantain makes it go away. Broadleaf
Wonderful.
or narrowleaf plantain, if you mash it up, it's gone. It's over. So we don't spray because we have bees. That's something else we'll talk about in a minute. But could we make a salad out of our yard, Mrs. Farmer?
We have before.
I think we could.
All right, now look, the smaller the better. They do tend to get a bit bitter as they get bigger, so we're gonna go for the small stuff. And there's literally millions of these that we can go to. Now, you can also eat the flower itself. A lot of people didn't know this, but dandelions, just about every part of this can be used. Now, it might taste a little bit bitter, but it's got its own unique taste and a lot of people use it. So we're starting our salad with the dandelions. Now we know how these taste. They're absolutely wonderful and plentiful. They're everywhere.
They are good.
You see one alongside the road, if it's not private property, knock yourself out. They really, really taste nutty
Remember she said it doesn't hurt the tree.
and sweet. Nope.
Pulling them off.
So we got a lot more to go. What are we looking for today? Did you know that you can eat violet leaves and violet flowers? And you talk about fiber, you talk about the fact you talk about organic. I mean, this is right here on a farm. We're getting started. Want these two?
Yeah.
You can't get enough of those in there.
And they're pretty color.
All right, as we look around, now these are everywhere, but the casual observer may say, well, there's just a tuft of grass. Look what's at the end of this tuft of grass.
Wow.
Smell that.
Wow.
As you see, these are little baby wild onions. Now, a little dab will do you. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these, we're just gonna use the green parts on this, like you would use, that's gonna go on the side.
Okay.
And if you're going to your square dance and you can be around a bunch of people, you don't want to eat too much of those.
Okay. I'm not square dancing.
All right, don't square dance. Now we got violets here. There's a violet leaf, little heart-shaped leaf.
You can eat the purple too, right?
You can eat the flower itself. It's got a nice little taste to it. You'll notice there's a lot more flavor in your salad like this. It's right, it's your own, literally, back door. Here's some more good dandelion leaves that we can pick. We're getting there. Let's go find some garlic mustard. Look at this right here. It comes out with a little white flower. Some people eat the stalks. The stalks to me are kind of bitter.
Just the leaves.
Just the leaves, and we can get as much of this as we want. Taste that. Tell me what you think. Smash it up.
Oh, wow.
You get that
Mustardy
garlic?
lettuce. Garlicky.
Isn't that something?
Oh, wow.
So-
That's really garlicky.
That's a natural garlic taste. That's why I go for the smaller ones. If you get too much, you're going to really get bitter. But you see, we're getting a salad. Now, if we spent about a half hour and gathered all these things, you know what else is good in a salad, nice and sweet? It's clover. Red clover, white
Yeah.
clover. Let's go find some of that. Tastes like garlic. So, we walk around the yard and we have a salad. Look at that.
It's pretty too. Look at the
It
colors.
is pretty. And you know what? You think about the vitamin A and the C and the antioxidants and the things that we don't even know that nature puts in there for us.
So what else can you do that's not terribly expensive to bring in food to your home? We have bees. We took almost a gallon of honey
Yes, we did.
out of this hive up here. It's a little bit technical. Sometimes you can find some folks who will come and take care of your hive for
Right.
you if you give them X amount of their honey.
Right.
It's a good option. So not everybody has a farm. Not everybody has acreage where they can raise a garden or raise animals, so on and so forth. But if you need to find someone who does this sort of thing, what I would suggest is a CSA, Community Supported Agriculture. You pay somebody to grow those for you. You
Right.
know where it comes from, and you can take half an animal, a quarter of an animal. You know how it's raised, you know where it came from. If you want pasture raised, those are available. Find out somebody who does that, and you can have things in your home like you want them. We talked about gardening, we talked about foraging. Everything we do comes into the kitchen at some point or another. We wanted to do a recipe, but ran out of time. But know that spring is upon us. Watch these things, look, go out, bring it into your home, make yourself some special treats. So, Mrs. Farmer, if somebody said to you, how do we find these things? They said, Mrs. Farmer, how do we find these recipes and stuff? What would you say?
TimFarmersCountryKitchen.com.
I've been there before.
I know you have.
And if they came up to you like 10 minutes later and said, Mrs. Farmer, I heard you had a Facebook page, but it's really hard to get on. You'd say,
Hit like.
wow.
Yeah, that's what you do.
fairly uncomplicated. But we're having a lot of fun. Spring is upon us. We'll keep you updated on the lambs. I'm thinking about chickens again, even though they make a mess out here.
That's right. They're all yours. Chickens are all Timmy's.
But that being said, our half hour is up. It's all about
Good times
good friends.
and really good eats.
We'll see you next week on a brand new Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen.